I'm angry when I see what is going on in the region. I'm frustrated because I don't want to die in 40, 50 years seeing the region sunk into the hands of the imperialists who care about nothing but robbing us and sucking our economies dry, subjugating the people, humiliating them, subjugating them. And I myself, I come from a position of someone who I want for the people to prosper, and I want for the people to have their own independent approach for life. How do they like to dress? How do they like to live? Which religion they should follow? And also which type of political system fits them? And most importantly, I would like to see a region which can thrive through economic integration among the people of the region. That's why before the Syrian war, or also during the war on Syria, I always advocated for federalism, but among the people of the region, instead of dividing Syria into 4 to 5 cantons, and Lebanon is already being divided on the sectarian and religious lines, we should create economies that bring mutual prosperity for everyone, and this decreases the sectarian tensions, this decreases all the sensitivities among the people, and this would bring definitely a great prosperity for the people. We're talking about scientific prosperity, we're talking about the welfare of the people, and also the economic prosperity, right? So I wanted for the people to export instead of importing. Now, when I see the region as divided as it is, when I see Syria is gone, I feel in myself that people really underestimate the severity of losing Syria and think this is just like any other setback that the region has received in the past 60 to 70 years. I know that Israel during the Six-Day War occupied large swaths of territories. I know that even after 73, the Arabic countries couldn't liberate all the territories that they aspired. And I know that some of the very few victories against Israel was in Lebanon, for example, in 2000 and in 2006. But when I'm seeing nowadays the map of geopolitics in the Middle East, I come to the conclusion that if Syria is gone for at least 10 to 20 years, and they are trying to keep the country in the hands of this Takfiris of Jolani because he wants to normalize ties with Israel, he presented himself as someone who could also fight against Hezbollah because he said to Israel, we have mutual enemies. Who are the mutual enemies? It doesn't take a philosopher to understand that the mutual enemies are Iran and Hezbollah in this case, right? And he has a 40,000 manpower here. And you know these people in the past 10 years, they are not some organized army. They are arch enemies. They are terrorists. They are just chaotic, brainless people. And you shouldn't, and we shouldn't underestimate tens of thousands of chaotic terrorists in big numbers. This is what I'm trying
We
to say.
saw what they did in the coastal side of Syria and in
Yeah,
Sweden. We saw what they were able
yeah.
to do.
Yeah, so you have a situation in Syria where it is already that you have many foreign powers, foreign occupation powers. Now the US is going to build a base for itself or presence in Damascus. And at the same time, you have terrorists in power and the minorities. And I'm sad to call them minorities because this is how it is being addressed nowadays. Many minorities in Syria say that we are being slaughtered by these terrorists, and we find no other solution but to call for international help for us to protect ourselves, because Alawites, for example, in the coast, nobody gives them weapons to fight back or to resist the massacres. The Druze in Sweden, Israel came and intervened and presented itself as their savior. The Kurds in the eastern shore of the Euphrates, Americans are protecting them. It looks to me the region is so divided nowadays among the people themselves, in political lines, sectarian lines, ethnic lines. This is the worst Middle East that I have seen since the independence of these countries. Like, when I see all this situation, plus the genocide in Gaza has happened. The people think genocide is like killing 2 million people. No, they destroyed the Palestinian people in part or in whole they destroyed their past, their present, and their future. And now their future is dependent on the economic help of outside powers, including possible troops underground from different countries. So when I see all these things, I feel pessimistic, but I don't want to give pessimistic analysis. So some people say that I'm coming from a very pessimistic lens, and this is emotional approach, and it's not correct. And I'm not trying to say like, please tell them they're wrong. I'm just trying to have a conversation with you, because I think that the 40 years of preparation in the past decades of the regional powers to create a region that is capable of challenging at least the American dominance has failed for now.
Yeah.
So you will need another probably 40 to 50 years to prepare a different project. But as long as these projects are met with sectarian hatred and fanaticism in the region, this is not going to succeed, which means we need to start from the people. If you can't reform the people and reform what is here, then you will see people in Syria celebrating their demise in the streets. Like, have you seen people go to the streets and celebrate the death of their nation? Many Syrians went to the streets. Right now, yes, many people say we regret it, but when it happened, they celebrated it. When the bombarding,
you can think about it that way. It took them 1 year to regret it. It's most probably going to take them another 10 years to actively oppose it on the ground. So no, my friend, you're not being pessimistic when you say 30 to 40 years that I'm going to see. First of all, you're going to see it in a couple of years. It's not going to be in 30 or 40 years, the demise of this region. And I say it again while I smile, because as I was telling you, also that if you see a society making jokes, dark jokes about the catastrophic conditions that it's living in, is because they see properly. They fully envision what is happening and what is about to happen, which is why when you see all of these voices that suddenly came to power with blue ticks on Twitter, for example, who are adamant on showing that Julani is now a washed up star and his past is just in the past. And now they're speaking about a new constitution and elections and how Syria will be prosperous and how, come on. After the war of the Arabs in 1967 and 1970s as well, which Arab nation was prosperous that actually was put in position of peace that never really occurred with Zionists? It's Jordan, Egypt. Look at Egypt, for example. Sudan, it normalized its ties with Zionist Israel, and from that point on, it was a total wreck of a country. It's no longer a country. And the Syrians, for example, like Julani, they keep putting in their sentences that like Syria aspires to become a new Qatar or a new Dubai or a new... They don't even fathom the idea that all of these Gulf regimes can poof with one magical word from America. I mean, who could have ever imagined that Israel will violate Qatari airspace and bomb Doha, for example? They don't care. They can bomb Riyadh. They can go to Mecca and bomb it, because they have done even worse than that by killing these Palestinians over the past 2 years. 75 years of ethnic cleansing and then a genocide over the past 2 years, and no one moved a muscle. And I'm speaking about the Arab world. I'm not speaking about the world. No, I'm hopeless about it. I don't have any more hope of what can come from a world, especially when you have these people who come from a postmodern society telling you, but we are protesting, we are banging with bottles on, like, seriously, like, I don't care anymore. I like whatever you're going to do, it's not going to affect me as long as you're not changing the regime in your country that is effectively ethnically cleansing my country. Whether you sleep in the streets screaming out of your mind, free Palestine, it's not going to be free, because the people that you are banging with They put just cords in there. They literally just close their ears, and they are building economic ties with Israel, building economic ties with the regimes in the Gulf, and they are manufacturing a new authority in Syria, for example, that is soaked in blood. They literally have photos of them on their websites with bounties for their heads that they are now willing to erase and welcome in the White House only because they said, yes, master, I will be a very obedient slave under the
A
feet
good
of
boy.
Netanyahu.
A good
So
boy.
exactly. So when you look at what you explained, and then you look at what is happening and how much fragmentation there is in our communities at the moment, not only our states, inside of our communities, how much fragmentation there exists, you can understand fully that what Condoleezza Rice was saying in 2006 about the birth of a new Middle East is exactly what we are witnessing right now. We are witnessing the birth of the bastard child of Zionist Israel with the Persian Gulf Arab states. This is what's being birthed in the Middle East. And this bastard child is being birthed into an area that has been literally looted. Syria, which was once self-sufficient, cannot feed its own people. What was once selling its crude oil with a very reasonable price with zero external debt is now a failed state with its resources completely looted. Lebanon was never a state to be a failed state to begin with. Yeah, it's funny to hear Thomas Barak
And I
saying that
don't.
Lebanon is a failed state. يعني تقبر قلبي. يعني we don't have electricity, we don't have water. The biggest Ponzi scheme in the world happened in our banking system at the hands of a governor of the central bank state, put in place by Zionist, by America, who was given awards, by the way. Riyad Salemi was being given awards by the Treasury in America just a year before the crisis in Lebanon. And now, after they put him in jail, they brought an American Lebanese to be the governor of the central bank, who's imposing new sanctions on humans, on civilians, on shops, on institutions that are ready to give loans for the people to start reconstruction. This is what the real role of the new governor of the Banque du Liban in Lebanon is, the central bank in Lebanon. So we're speaking at a micromanagement level. America and Zionist Israel were doing some sort of a macro management during the global war on Syria, which allowed Hezbollah and the allies of the Syrian Arab army at some point to liberate many swaths of land, to liberate a lot of the governorates and to rid Damascus of the terrorism that was threatening it. But at a point of weakness, after 14 years of siege and economic, basically economic homicide against the people in Syria, where to a point that the government cannot function anymore under the crippling economic sanctions. And after a catastrophic operation that took out in Lebanon all of the leadership that was once one of the most important leadership that brought about the liberation and protection of Lebanon, and also the protection of some parts of Syria. And after the assassination of the Iranian president Raisi, which began actually before all of this happened in our region. And then later on, the attack against Iran on several parts of this world before actually attacking Iran, they physically and mentally broke the axis of resistance at a very important point in time where they should have shown their unity for real. But they played it very well. Netanyahu knew what he was saying in 2022 when he held at the UNGA the map of Greater Israel. The man knew what he was saying, and he was adamant on implementing it, which is why he made sure to take advantage of what happened on October 7, because it was not as big as Netanyahu later on made it to be. he didn't like the fact that only 200 military soldiers were killed in the October 7 attack. So he directed the Hannibal directive against his own
Yes.
people basically just to inflate the number of deceased and to take advantage of it. But he always knew what's going on. He always knew that he just needed the right chance, the right time to begin this greater Israel project once and for all, and to cripple any sign of resistance in the region. Hence why when we say that Syria was the hardest hit that we got, we are not being emotional about it, because logistically speaking and strategically speaking, Syria was the nation that was the only sovereign nation remaining in the face of Zionist Israel, and that actually had an army that was capable of defending not only Syria, but also Syria's interests in the region, which amount to parts of Lebanon, even parts of Jordan, because the now northern part of Jordan is at risk at any time because of the terrorists. I keep speaking with my friends in Jordan, and they say they are on high alert, and they've never seen such a threat against their own national security as has been the case over the past year, ever since the regime fell in Syria, and also the national security of Iraq as well. Now,
Yes.
uh, looking at all of this from afar, people can say that what we are talking about might sound a bit pessimistic, but no. We are the people living through this on an hourly basis, on a minute to minute basis. I was just speaking this morning with a friend, and everyone, when they see you, they keep asking you, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Is it going to be a war again? And I needed to explain that we never left the war to begin with. War remains, but on different escalatory basis, meaning that today we saw Zionist Israel escalating in South Lebanon. Maybe they're going to take a break for 2 weeks and then come after Beirut again. Then they take like a break for 2 weeks and then go after Syria again. Because what the media is not showing the people at the moment is not only that Zionist Israel took swaths of land in Syria, but they are incarcerating and detaining Syrian nationals, civilians, in
Yes.
Quneitra and in other parts of southern Syria. Even the so-called Amn al-Am, the general security, meaning the so-called authority of al-Julani, there are videos of them being tied up with hands behind their backs, laying on the ground, because Zionist Israel is expecting them. The soldiers are taking them into captivity, as incarcerating them,
Where
because
is
they
their
scared.
bravery? Where is their bravery when you need them? Why are they so brave on unarmed civilians and going home to home and killing civilians basically and raping women, which happened so many times, especially in Sweden, and all the kidnappings of Syrian Alawite women from the Syrian coastal cities? When it comes to Israel, they are like, I can't even call them rabbits. At least rabbits run away. Those people do not even run away. They just surrender to the Israelis, and they're being humiliated on video in Quneitra. I watched that video.
These videos are very important, because it is very vital that those who really believe, because not everyone is a mercenary. Kevork. Not everyone is doing that job in Syria for the money. There are people who really followed Julani as sincere followers, which is why we saw the breakage that we saw in Idlib and in Halab, where some fighters now say that their arch enemy is Julani and his thugs, because they saw that everything that they believed in at one point turned out to be a big lie. They also saw that they were not even allowed to stage protests in support of Gaza, despite the fact that at least until the second half of 2024, Idlib saw a lot of protests, pro-Palestinian protests, saying that we condemn Bashar al-Assad for not opening the front against Zionist Israel. And then when they took over, without a bullet being fired, they took over because there was a major deal that happened and allowed them to just drive their Toyotas up to Damascus, because no way Damascus would fall in less than 7 hours, man. It's obviously a deal. So when they drove up to Damascus without firing one bullet, took over the presidential palace, despite the fact that Zionist Israel took its F-35s and bombed the presidential palace, bombed the the Ministry of Defense, in the famous square, Sahat al-Umayyad, the Umayyad
Umayyad.
Square, and in the heart of Damascus, you saw their leader, quote unquote, giving a speech saying, and giving that speech in Ankara, on the steps of Ankara, not even in Damascus. He stood with the Turkish flag behind him, saying that this is a message to Israel. You are not our enemy. Actually, we share the enemy, but we would like it if you don't escalate. Sure. Where did all that macho talk about liberating Palestine go? Sure. Abu Muhammad, what
Abu
happened? Sure.
Muhammad.
Are you now busy with your lovely Latifa wife's certificate, who
Yeah,
didn't even go to
this is what
university,
he's
but
doing.
actually
This is
gets
what
it?
this is what he's doing basically. U.S. military to establish presence in Damascus airbase. This is sources to Reuters.
If
Uh,
this doesn't happen, Kevork, there would be something wrong happening. And if America doesn't take advantage of what is going right now on the ground and starts building its military bases, it wouldn't be the America that we know. And
yes.
Julani is the main man for them. And
Yeah.
look, I don't care if people hear us anymore. I don't care if people believe our view of what's going on anymore. They're going to feel it.
Mm.
They don't need to listen to us anymore. They can feel it soon. But what broke my heart at some point, because now it doesn't really matter anymore. And I was telling you that nothing really matters
Mm.
anymore, because when one loses one's dignity, nothing matters anymore. But what once broke my heart was that we literally fought as a unified front. Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran. We once fought as a unified front and we won, which means that the experience says that if we actually unify our fronts, we can take down our enemy. But we decided that it's not worth it. We decided that watching fathers in Gaza carrying their babies, their dismembered babies in plastic bags, is not worth it. We decided that 2.5 million humans suffering is not worth it. We decided that 35,000 men, women, and children in the coastal part of Syria being butchered and running in the fields at night is not worth it. We decided that the women being raped in Suwaida is not worth it. And people decided that 4,000 civilians being used as a ploy for terrorism in Lebanon, and the biggest terrorist attack in history with the Pagers attack, is not worth it. Yossi Saral speaking on Western media that Israel not only infiltrated Lebanon with PETN explosive with the Pagers attack, that it also infiltrated other countries, even allied countries, with PETN that they can use at any time, is not worth it. Khalas.
Yes.
Something happened to the people where they are now literal sheep. Welcome to 1984 in actuality, in reality. Yani what was once a novel is now the reality that we live in. And when
Yes.
you get people in your face, especially people who have never even lived for one consecutive month, or like 10 consecutive days, or
Mm.
one specific month in an area in Syria or Lebanon or Palestine, come at your face and tell you you're being pessimistic, please tell them that Marwa Osman spits in your face and tells you you are most welcome to come.
Mm.
She will actually give you a room in her destroyed house in South Lebanon. How about you come, live there, and see it for yourself, and see what Zionist Israel is capable of doing, only because people like them, those who call us pessimistics, people like them refuse to acknowledge that it is their regimes and it is their tax money that is creating these horrible, catastrophic events in the region, and that will come back to bite them. Yani, they don't understand, especially people in Europe. Wallah al-Azim, I don't understand. Trump came to power vowing that he will end the war on Ukraine and that he will bring peace, right? Now he's vowing to bring Tau missiles to Ukraine. What will happen when Ukraine will use Tau missiles? What will happen when the NATO keeps knocking at the bear's house? What will happen? Yani, what missiles will start to land? Yani, Europe will no longer be the Europe that we know. Do you think that because we lived through this, we want other people to live through it? They don't understand that we don't want to see misery anywhere, not in our lands, not in their land, but they cannot
100%.
understand. You know, at one
100%.
point, I was speaking with my husband, and I told him, sometimes war is important to put things into perspective. But what I never thought would happen was people in war celebrating and living like they are, wallahi, تحشيش, like they are like high. Yani your country, as a Syrian, your country is being bitten down by Israel in the south, Turkey in the north, and America in the east, and you're dancing in the streets because you took down a dictator. But sorry, what do you call a self-appointed president? What is he? What, a prophet? He's a dictator.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?